it's Kristen with Simply a Steward, and today I'm going to go over what my kindergartner used this year for our lessons. If you followed me for any amount of time, you will know that I have 3 children who are currently homeschooling and then a 4th child who is still just a tinier tot, but I have a 4th grader, a what would be 2nd grader in public school, and then my son who would be in kindergarten. And if I would have sent him to public school for any reason, he probably would not have gone this year. He was 5 at the beginning of the year and just recently turned 6, but academically he was not ready, and that wasn't for lack of anything that we worked on. We did the same things with him that my older girls did, but it didn't compute for him and he just wasn't quite ready to learn. So we did focus mainly this year on the 3 R's, writing, reading, and arithmetic. And honestly, with my early childhood background, I've always kind of been a person that you learn through play and through life. So I wasn't really worried about doing much else than that, but we did do a little bit of some things and I will share those with you. So the very first thing I'm going to share with you is his math curriculum. And we did Horizons for math. If you are unfamiliar with this, I want to share with you maybe just a couple of the pages on the inside. It is, and that's probably the least colorful page, it is a pretty colorful curriculum, which is nice for him because it grabbed his attention. If you have a student maybe who is distracted by those types of things, it wouldn't work for you, but it is very colorful. We did really enjoy this curriculum. I use it for my older 2 girls, and I do plan to use it again for him next year. It is a spiral curriculum, which means that it teaches a new concept and then it comes back to it over and over again. For some kids, that might be tedious. For him, it's excellent. I really love it. So each section, that's a section he's currently working on. You can see each page has things that are different. He's working on different parts of the lesson. That was all in one lesson. He has those and then these. So it's not like an entire lesson on just how to read a clock or an entire lesson on just how to do addition. He learned addition, and then the next time he learned a little bit about clocks. So then they did addition and clocks. And then he learned a little bit about money, and they added that in. And so things just kind of spiraled around, and he keeps coming back to those concepts, and so he can really solidify them. I love that about this. Some kids really need and prefer a mastery program. For my kids, we love the spiral approach. So if you are interested in a spiral approach for your math, this is great. I really, really recommend it. It is biblically based. Now, I will say, after going through the entire kindergarten curriculum, I did not really notice much scripture or anything like that. They're really working on fundamentals. They're working on days of the week. They're working on their numbers. They're working on clocks. As they get older, if you want to look for a program that you're going to stay with, if that's why you're watching this, in my opinion, it changes year to year. I have done things with my kids and changed even in the mid-year. But if you're looking for something you want to do with all of your kids in the same curriculum, like same publisher, or if you're looking for something that they can stay adjusted to the way it works, or you don't like switching math curriculums because they all teach things at different times, Horizons is biblically based. Like I said, I don't see a lot of it in the kindergarten curriculum, but I know in my older students, they do have scripture in there. They do have games where they'll be spelling out characters of the Bible, all of those types of things. So it is more incorporated in the older kids, I think, than it is in this one, but it is a biblical based program. So that's something to think about for yourself. I did really like it. The only thing I think I didn't like about it was how much money they put in this kindergarten curriculum. For my son, he's not ready to learn, and I didn't feel like they learned how to count by 10s and 5s as quickly as they were showing the money. So he like was having trouble computing that. Again, that could be because he was so far, I don't want to say so far behind, but because when he came into this, he was kind of still at a very early preschool level. He was struggling with some concepts. And so maybe that's why, but for, so if your student already recognizes money and they already know, like what a dime is and it's worth 10 cents and they can add 2 dimes together as they're learning the lessons, that's great. For my son, they're already adding, 2 dimes, a nickel, and a couple pennies, and he just can't do that. The great thing about this is that's okay. We can skip it for now. We can come back to it. We can skip the money sections completely and catch up to it when his personal brain and mentality is ready to get there. And that's okay. There's lots of stuff in the lesson that doesn't pertain to money. On the other hand, it has clocks in it too, which would be a drawback for maybe some kids. But for my son, he really has excelled in that, and he really grasped the concept of time much earlier than my girls ever did, using the cyber program that we used previous to this. So it brings all of that right away. Some people I hear say that their curriculum lacks money and time. This curriculum does not, and it does introduce it early. So if that's something you're looking for, this is just something to consider for you. We do love this program. So we will be continuing that next year. The next thing we did was handwriting. And he didn't even write his name on the front, but he has been doing it. This is the handwriting without tears. This is actually the book that we had used previously for my girls in the cyber school that we were in, and I really liked it. It is just black and white. Here we go. Sorry, looking towards the end of some of the things that we haven't done yet. So it's very black and white, not flashy at all. Good for some kids, not good for some kids. Doesn't really matter to him. I like for writing that it is black and white because it keeps him on task. It's not a task he likes to do. It's very brief. I only make him do 1 page a day. When we do it, we don't do it every day. And I'll explain that a little more in a minute when we go over his phonics. But it's very simple and it's very to the point. We had done this with my girls, like I mentioned, and we tried something else with them this year, and we will actually be coming back to this for them as well. That's how much we like this program. So I do highly recommend this. Let me see. And it does go over letters and numbers, which I like. I feel like a lot of programs go over letters and they leave numbers out, and my kids' handwriting is atrocious, letters or numbers, so... but I do really, really enjoy this program. Phonics. Phonics was, honestly, I started the school year going, my son's never going to know how to read. Not really. We all know as homeschool moms that they learn at their own pace. But he was really behind his sisters, even his older sister who has a reading disability. So I was like, what are we going to do? So I liked Horizons Math, and I knew that because although we had came from a virtual type school previous to this, when we decided we were skipping and we were done with that and switching over to traditional school, I had ordered our math books already for my middle daughter just to work on over the summer because she loves math so much. And so I had ordered that, and I really loved the Horizons program, so I thought we'll try that out for phonics. So I ordered all of the curriculum for phonics. I went and found everything secondhand to save a little money, and I'm glad I did. And it just did not work for us. I found that the lessons were long. Let me see if I can find some lessons here for you. As for my struggling student, they were long. So I found that we were skipping half of the stuff in it, and he wasn't really grasping the concept, or we spent all of our time fighting to do the entire lesson. And it just wasn't working. For me, and for him, it just should be more enjoyable. Sorry guys, you'll notice the lighting is different. It got like really dark really fast, and that's the noise you heard behind me. My kids came running in saying it was thundering, so we had to take a break. Anyways, yeah, the lessons were just really long. So, like, here is the lesson for Q. And you can see, I mean, they had some writing practice, which just to me was not as good as the handwriting without tears. And then they had this page. And for him, he couldn't read half of these words. Like, I don't know. He just hadn't learned how to make blending sounds like ILL yet. He was still working on grasping the Q sound. And then on the backs, they would have things like this. And again, sorry, he was still working on his letter sounds. So he was not ready to be reading sentences, which is kind of what it wanted him to do. And so we struggled through this. We took a long time on this first book, struggling through. And we decided, finally, I had decided at Christmas time, roughly, I don't know, maybe November. We just took a break through December because we were both fit to be tied. We were just done with it. We decided, though, it just wasn't for us, and we had to find something else that worked. So, again, these were the books that came, like the Phonics readers. See if I can find, like, the very first. And these were the readers he was to be doing. And just for somebody who was learning their letter sounds, he was really struggling with these types of things. So I was reading to him so that he was like being able to look at them, but he definitely could not read any of them. And he couldn't read the sentences in the workbook. And for us, we would have almost had to start this in first grade. So we decided it was time to ditch it. If your student is a little more advanced, I think for especially my second daughter, this would have worked wonderfully for her. She really, and not just learning the letter sounds, like I said, she knew her letter sounds. Even my oldest daughter, who had a reading issue, she knew her letter sounds and whatnot. But just the like reading all the sentences and all those types of things, they just weren't. It wasn't where he needed to be. So we decided we were ditching that, and we were moving on to what I have found that I love, Explode the Code. I had seen this before, and every time I've seen it, it's been something that somebody's kind of used as an add-on. It's not really what they use to teach phonics. It's just kind of an add-on. And I figured we would try it out, and so I grabbed a book over Christmas and decided after the break we would try it. He loved it. Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, he was starting to read. We were reading, and I will go into that a little bit more, some other books, and his fluency, everything improved drastically. So, and this book had some, like, I don't want to say blends, but like digraphs and stuff at the end of this book. And I thought, there is no way he's going to be doing blends or digraphs or trigraphs or any of that stuff this year. And he's doing blends in this book like it's no big deal. So I was really excited about this. Each lesson is, and I can do a flip through of anything. I'm going to be doing this next year, so I will be ordering new books. If you guys are interested in seeing flip throughs of like 1 through 4 at all, just let me know. Drop a comment down below. But each lesson is, I think 10 pages, so it's like 2 pages a day is what we do. So here is a lesson, and they'll work on the same sounds all week long, or all 2 weeks if you only want to do 1 page. We do 2 pages because this is our primary phonics curriculum. Okay, and they'll work on the same beginning sounds. There's different activities every day, but the activities are the same from week to week. And so they become very familiar with things like the instructions and how to use them. And here I mentioned earlier how I don't make him do handwriting every day. If he has to do handwriting in this book, I don't make him do handwriting in that book. He really dislikes handwriting, and so for me, it's just not worth fighting. So we only do handwriting in this or that. And so he has this, and that just shows you guys. Sorry, I try to film when my kids are outside because it's quieter, but like I said, with the storm they came in, I can hear them yelling in the background if you can't. And so he has really grown with this. I'm really enjoying this program. I love the fact that the lessons are different every day, but they're similar every single week. And so they understand what they're supposed to do. Now we're in our second book. And so he's able to actually like sit down and do some of the work on his own. I can say, go get your Explode the Code and start on it, which is nice because at that age, he doesn't have a whole lot he can do on his own, and he could have never worked with the Horizons, I don't think, unless we were like starting over completely, maybe now, where he was. So I really do enjoy this. It's really easy for him to know what he's doing next and how to follow the rules. And after a whole week of working on just like 2-letter blends, or 3-letter blends or whatever he's doing in the same words over and over again, he really starts to get it and to hear it, even though he has difficulty saying some of those things. So I really love this. Now, in addition to that, which we also were doing in addition to the Horizons thing, is we were doing Bob books and sight words. So I just have a basic set of sight words. These are actually the K-12 sight words. My daughters, like I mentioned, had started with a cyber charter school previously to switching over to a traditional method of school, homeschooling, and these were leftovers. So we just are being good stewards of what we have and utilizing the sight word cards that we have. And so we've been working through these as the year goes. I just pick and choose and add things into the words that we want to use every week. That being said, some of the words come from his books. When I notice there's a new word in his book that we have not come across yet, I will go pull that word out for sure. Even if we just added something else, I will add that one word so that he's able to work on that and this at the same time. Sorry guys. That came out of nowhere. Anyways, so we're working on these Bob books. We are in our second set. We actually just are, we are working through these, and we do one book a week for the most part. Now, if we are going to be having like a short week for some reason or something like that, or I feel like he didn't get the book, he was still struggling, we will do that book for a second week. So it's not exact, but we have been using this that way. So we are finishing our very last book in our very last set this week. We will go through the third set through the next couple weeks that we have for school still, and then through the summer. And then we may or may not move into the fourth set. We may just wait until his first grade year begins, because while we don't year-round school, we do work some in the summer. We have a traditional start date in August. So we have used these. We love these. I really do like them. And you can just see they're very basic. Not much color to them. You know, they all have a little bit, literally 2 colors. Like 1 color, I guess, in black and white. So, but they're very simple. And a lot of the words are rhyming words. So they can, like, this is fun in the sun. Fun and sun, obviously. So it's very simple. I really like them. He really likes them. And they're all things that he can read. So he's learning. Whereas with these readers that I had mentioned with Horizons, he could not read any of this. And so this was a really good place for him to start to be able to read on his own. So every day he reads to me the whole book, and then, like I said, he reads that same book the whole way through until we feel like we have mastered that. So that is everything that we did every single day for the most part. Like, we've really spent time focusing on, and I felt that was important. Now, with that being said, we have worked, especially in the second semester, a little more on some other things, but I didn't really push a whole lot. So the thing that I'm referring to mostly is this like grammar and punctuation book. I don't do grammar or punctuation or any of those types of things in kindergarten much. And so I just use this book to kind of come across some of the things. Here's the table of contents. You can pause it if you want to grab that real quick. But it just keeps me on things to think about that are good to teach them. So for like my next student, I guess, like I said, I didn't do this really with the older ones because they were older when they started. But for my next student, she may or may not be a little more advanced than my son, and I can move on. For him, we pretty much stuck to nouns and verbs, but it gives me a good binding, like a good spine of things that I can work on with them just as a basic level. And what I did for that was mostly go on Pinterest and Teachers Pay Teachers and get some worksheets or like some games. I did like a nouns and verb game where I printed out a noun and verb and cut them apart, and then a bunch of cards that said like wash, read, type, and then like kite, shoe, ball, those types of things. And I just laminated them and I cut them out. And for about 3 or 4 weeks, he wanted to play that game every day. And so we did. He just split the nouns and verbs up, and he used the header cards and divided them. And by the end of it, he really understood nouns and verbs. And so we'll go back and we play that game every once in a while now, just to kind of remember and to keep that coming. But I don't do any kind of in-depth grammar or writing type skills in kindergarten. That's it. I'm more worried about him learning things like handwriting and reading, like I said. So we also have been working on this. We do a history program with everybody together. So I will share my review on that later. If you guys are interested, you guys can check back in for that. But one of the things we've been doing is reading stories from around the world. This is kind of part of our literature and kind of part of just learning about like world culture and the things that have come from different places. And so we've been reading through this book. Every week or so, we'll just pick one out and read it together. In addition to this, we are reading and you'll find out for my next subject and everything, we're not just reading this, we're reading lots of books about science and other picture books and other history books, mostly that we pick up at the library or that we've collected in our own home library, but I haven't picked those out to show you. I was more worried about showing you some of the curriculum type things. Now, the last thing we did spend a little bit time focusing on was science. I am not a science fan overly. I really love history. I'm a history buff. My other two girls are history buffs. They're not huge lovers of science. We do like science. Just we gear towards history more in our home. And I know there's a lot of homes that are the opposite. They gear towards science. And so, but I did want to give him some more exposure to different things. And so the things I found out that I ended up finding out he loved were really cool. But I found out a lot of them by him watching videos. He is a tech kid. Now, for me, I could do without TV pretty much at all or any kind of electronics. But he really thrives on that kind of stuff. He got a Mario game from his aunt for Christmas, and we very much limit screen time, but the one night a week he gets to play it. I guess maybe not even once a week. It hasn't been lately. He probably hasn't played it in like 3 or 4 weeks at least. But when he does get to play it, he loves it. He really thrives on anything screen related. I guess that's just the current technology era we're in. So he really grasps the visually things, I guess is what I'm saying. And so we got some of these different DVDs, and he spent a lot of time watching these, and then we would sometimes do activities that went along with them, or we would read books that went along with them. And so we used Sid the Science Kid, Wildcrats, and The Magic School Bus. So those are all 3 excellent sources of different science things that we can use. We also did a lot of unit studies with, I don't say a lot of unit studies, but a few unit studies with his big sisters, and there he was able to sit in and use those. But otherwise, honestly, we did a lot of his science curriculum just by in the afternoons when we finished up the rest of our stuff, especially through the winter and days like today when it's yucky out. He could just go hang out in his room for a little bit, watch a half an hour or so of this, and then go play. So that is what we did mainly for science this year. But that was just about everything we did as far as an official curriculum. As you mamas know, you never stop learning. So we did a lot of things. We do a lot of library trips and a lot of reading outside of this. But those are the official type of things that we used for our kindergarten curriculum. If you are interested in seeing what I used for my 2nd and my 4th grader, it was a little more structured. They're a little bit more older and they are used to doing a heavier workload. And so I will be uploading those videos pretty soon as I can kind of gather some of their stuff together. They've finished some subjects and not others, and so it's kind of scattered everywhere as I'm trying to work on portfolios. But I do want to get that video out to you guys. Also, if you will be interested in seeing our what we're doing in the fall for next year, keep an eye out for those videos. They'll be coming also very soon. If you guys are new here, thank you guys so much for joining us, and please go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. I would love to have you join us to watch those future upcoming videos on curriculum, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!